go.
Breaking news.
Oh, my God. Oh, breaking news. ABC News' Brian Ross is reporting Michael Flynn promised full cooperation to the Mueller team and is prepared to testify that as a candidate, Donald Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians. Yes!
Well, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, and it's beginning to look a lot like collusion.
This was like, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car reaction from the audience, by the way.
He goes to jail, he goes to jail, he goes to jail. Lock him up! Lock them up!
Take this moment, Joy. Take this moment. I give it to you.
You know what? You know what this is for me? This is the antithesis of election night.
First day of Hanukkah.
No.
She can rip off her black veil.
Festival of lights.
Am I going to do my joke now? Everybody thinks I'm Jewish. I'm not. I'm Italian. A few years ago, I get a call. Happy Hanukkah. I said, Ma, I'm not Jewish. Anyway, on election night, I had to wear a veil. I was in mourning. So this is like the antithesis of that hideous night. Well, and that's why I'm happy.
But the thing is, this is so significant. You're talking about someone's national security advisor, someone with a military background who pled guilty to lying to the FBI, to the federal government, and now is going to testify that not as president, as a candidate, the candidate, Donald Trump, directed him to make contact with the Russians. I mean, does everybody understand how significant that is? There's no, I mean, it's unbelievable. If true. And there is no legal definition for collusion. There's no legal definition for collusion, but there is the legal definition for conspiracy. And conspiracy requires an overt act from one person to the other. I could prove an overt act easily.
Isn't it kind of like treasonous? What do you think?
I really mean it when I say you can take this moment, Joy. We've got to give each other... I concede to you that this is a good moment for you, and it's a good moment for Democrats.
And for
that
you
being
too.
number
and
one.
For the country.
No, I would say, not to be the Debbie Downer, but if this somehow leads to indictment, the country's going to rip itself apart, and it's not good for America.
No, it should lead to resignation.
It's not. I mean,
I remember Richard Nixon, and Richard Nixon stepped down, and so should Donald Trump.
But if it leads to that, this just happened in real time in this segment. We don't know the exact details of this, but I will say I implore everyone. I know everyone's cheering in here again. I give Democrats and liberals this moment. Whatever, but I will say that I don't want this country to become more polarized and ripped apart than it already is.
I think it will become less polarized.
I disagree with you.
I don't want a foreign government interfering in our elections.
No, but it's not a liberal moment, guys. This is an American moment.
That's right.
If it's not a Democrat, it's not a Republican.
No, I'm not cheering over this. I'm not cheering over this.
It's an American moment.
No, what I just said and what you just said, because you remember during Nixon, I wasn't born yet. That's not a knock, but like the country is so deeply polarized, it will become more polarized. I implore everyone for that not to happen.
Well, and
it is difficult enough as it is.
Confirming that what we feared is true is also a scary time, because it was saying that a foreign power was invited in. So even though there's clapping and screaming and everyone's excited, it's also a mixed emotion thing, which is bad. But that doesn't mean it's good for the country either way. That's really bad if the present-day president there is collusion proven here. So it's not that it's a happy day, it's we need to figure out what went down here. Like that, I can't find myself cheering either.
Oh, no, it's a happy day. Come on.
Well,
come on.
I am more concerned.
He is going to be taken down for what he did, and this country can start to heal, and parties can work together like Meghan wants it to, then that's a happy day.
We don't even know what this process would look like. It's messy now, and that'd be messy too. So I just...
You know what? Justice is messy.
To me, it's not a happy day. It's not a sad day.
It's not a happy day.
So what it is, for me, what it is, first of all, we're still in this process, but it's also a very scary day.
It's a scary day.
The idea that this guy, despite the fact that he was having contact with the Russians during the election, was then named National Security Advisor, the power that has, the intelligence that has, the clearance that has, the access that has, the influence that has, the profile that has, the international implications that has, and that this guy, this former general, who knew what he was doing,
Yep.
had been having contact with the Russians and was able to get that position, and that Donald Trump continued protecting him over and over again, even after he had to fire him, is scary as hell.
Except it's less scary now that they're finding all this out.
But you just said, and I don't want to get it wrong. I thought you just said something in the last segment, like, you know, in terms of our country, we should all come together and be concerned if a foreign power was involved in our election. So that's why, in my view, I hear this news. It's not a Democratic issue. It's not a Republican issue. We should all collectively be concerned that, that this happens. So this is a time for our country. This is good for our country to expose this kind of
But it being concerning and scary is still on board with your point, which is just, it doesn't have to be gleeful and happy to say this. And like, we should be serious about it. Yeah, it is concern.
As I said before, you are taking this moment to enjoy it. Of course, I think if the tables were turned, you would as well as Merry Christmas, Joy.
Thank
but
you.
I will
Thank you, Santa.
But I will say that I do think that there's a bunch of people in Alabama and in red states that are going to think they're trying to take my president down. It's the media trying to rip him apart. I beg, thank you very much, by the way, for agreeing with me.
They can think that.
And I think, but I also think that I don't want to relive the 60s. I don't want to relive what it's like to have a president impeached. I don't want, we've been talking all week very intensely, by the way. I don't want this country to rip itself apart. I would like us to find more in between. And this is, you know, it seems like an audience that's excited at the idea of President Trump being, you know, indicted and possibly impeached.
Well, because
that is not.
Look.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. The 70s. Yes.
But you know what? I can go into a whole conversation on the 70s because I was there. But if someone commits...
You actually remember it?
Oh, yes, I do. I never took drugs.
This isn't Whoopi.
I never took drugs. If someone commits a crime, that's a bad thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
When they find out, that's a good thing. That's what I'm talking about now.
I'm with you.
And I don't believe there will be an impeachment. I think there will be a resignation. That's what I believe. I've said it from the beginning.
People were calling for his impeachment the day after the election, though. And again, to a lot of Republicans, if there is evidence there, of course. Do you think I like this? Anna and I just talked in the whole last segment about how we feel about Russia and how bizarre it is to have this experience of the normalizing of Putin. That being said, again, as I said before, I think you and I know Republicans, I know Trump supporters. This isn't going to be seen through the same lens it's seen right now.
I've got to take another break. We'll be right back.